With NFL free agency getting closer by the day, there's been a surprising lack of news coming out of Detroit on the existing free agents they have that are set to hit the open market in a few days. Until this morning, as the Lions have, or not officially, but it's been reported that the Lions are extending linebacker Derrick Barnes to a 3-year deal worth up to 25.5 million, with 16 of that guaranteed. So let's talk about that. Derrick Barnes, originally a 2021 draft pick. He was picked in the 4th round, one pick after Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you'll recall, the Lions traded up in that draft in the 4th round to have back-to-back picks. I believe the picks were 112 and 113. Derrick Barnes gets selected, brought in from Purdue, where he was predominantly an edge player, but he also played off-ball linebacker in his final season. The Lions liked what they saw during his final year at Purdue, and they also liked what they saw at the Senior Bowl, where Barnes showed a pretty decent ability to cover in short areas, not the best coverage guy coming out, more of a project linebacker, but they liked what they saw and they liked the athletic profile, so they pulled the trigger on him. Barnes comes in and he's trained as an off-ball linebacker, and his first few seasons were okay. They were okay. He was mostly a solid run defender, but he was a rotational linebacker that was just trying to crack the starting lineup. 2023, that's when it happens. Kelvin Shepherd, before the season, was like, watch out, Derrick Barnes, he's ready to break out in a big way. And he does. His best statistical season was in 2023, and he played primarily the Mike linebacker position, which, for those who don't know, the Mike linebacker is the position on defense that they wear the green dot. They're the communicators. They're the one that is relaying the play call from the defensive coordinator to the rest of the defense. So being the Mike linebacker requires a lot of football intelligence. It requires a lot of awareness of what's going on. So Barnes was that guy. He was the guy wearing the green dot. And, again, that was his best statistical season, his breakout season into a true starting linebacker. Again, his best trait is his run defense, but he showed strides in coverage, namely in the 2023 divisional round against Tampa Bay. He got his first career interception to seal the game and send Detroit to the NFC Championship, which is by far his most iconic moment, my favorite moment of him. And that flash is enough to get you go a long way in the NFL. If you have one signature moment, it will go a long way. So far in his career, that's Derrick Barnes' signature moment. So just last year, based off that, I was ready to extend him. And then this season, he switched roles. He switched to the Sam linebacker position, which he doesn't wear the green dot anymore. That duty has been transitioned to Jack Campbell, a young linebacker in his own right, who is developing into that role very nicely. But Barnes was shifted to the Sam linebacker role, where he essentially is a hybrid of what he was at Purdue for most of his tenure there, which is an edge defender and an off-ball linebacker. He has some of the same responsibilities. He needs to drop into coverage. Sometimes he needs to be good at dropping into coverage. He needs to stop the run and set the edge, which is something that he's very good at, and he's a very good run defender. And unfortunately, we didn't really get to see a whole lot of him because he ended up losing his entire season in week 3, tearing both his PCL and MCL, which was a devastating blow. And as you saw throughout the rest of the season, the Lions were sorely missing his presence at the linebacker spot because everyone went down for at some point or another except for Jack Campbell. So Derrick Barnes' extended absence last season was sorely missed, but at the same time, he's a player that has shown flashes throughout his career. He looked good in the first 2 games at this new role, and that is the role he will primarily be playing going forward. Now, it is worth noting that this contract is a little richer than some people maybe expected, just because, again, he's coming off an injury. He hasn't proven a ton at the NFL level, so it's fair to wonder if the Lions overpaid, and to an extent, they did, right? This is a player, I know Pride of Detroit put out an article where they were speculating that the projected contract or the expected contract was going to be around $5 million a season. This comes in at about 8.5, or if it's just the guaranteed money, about 5.333 repeating. So he's going to obviously get more than just his guaranteed money, and the contract is a little richer than you would expect. That being said, when you're extending and rewarding your in-house guys, you have to be a little generous in the sense that you're projecting that Barnes is going to have a good next couple of years. Also, we have no idea what off-ball linebackers or the Sam linebacker position is going to get on the open market. It's a very niche position that not a lot of guys can play effectively. So the fact that Barnes can play that role and play it relatively well means that he's in a position to get a little bit more in a contract than perhaps he was expecting. If Barnes was still a Mike linebacker and that was all he could do, or not all he could do, but that was primarily what he did, he wouldn't be getting as much because that role is a lot more easily replaced. But Barnes, it's not that he's irreplaceable, but it's a little bit tougher to find that prototype in either the draft or free agency. So as a result, that the retention cost is going to be a little bit more of a premium than you would necessarily like or expect. But again, you also have to project because Barnes is a young player. Again, he's coming off his rookie contract. And you hope that if he stays healthy, this is a contract that will age pretty well. And the Lions have made a ton of these bets recently, right? They extended Penei Sewell early before any other big tackle signed an extension. And then Trent Williams ended up holding out and getting a record-setting deal of his own. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they were proactive with that. And I imagine they'll be proactive with Aiden Hutchinson over this offseason as well. So the Lions, they have a history of being proactive. They would rather sign Barnes today at $8.5 million per season than to wait a week and maybe his price goes up because some of the other guys get 12 a season. And so again, not a huge track record of production, but it's a very reasonable bet to make. And also, this is the Lions' MO. They want to retain their young core. They want to retain the young guys that they have invested in drafting and developing. So it makes sense that Barnes, and I imagine some of the other guys that they've drafted in recent years as well, this is what the Lions saved their cap space for, is to sign these guys, extend these guys, because they want to keep them around. The Lions don't invest so much time into who's going to be a good culture fit for no reason, right? The reason that they spend so much time determining who is the right fit for this program is so that they can keep them. It would make no sense for them to spend assets drafting and developing a good player just to let him walk. They're going to get into that situation down the line, obviously, because if you're a good team, that means you're going to lose good players year after year. But for now, Derrick Barnes stays in Detroit, and I'm a big fan of this signing. Again, as I said, I love Derrick Barnes. I love what he brings with his physicality, and he's just an awesome player. And he was getting an outpouring of support from people online, namely Alex Anzalone put out a tweet. Andrew Whitworth put out a tweet. Now, you might be a little confused at that connection there. If you don't recall, Andrew Whitworth, who won a Walter Payton Man of the Year award a few years ago, in his speech, he was talking about Derrick Barnes because after Derrick Barnes' first game against Whitworth, when he was in LA, this would have been the first time the Lions played Stafford and Goff played the Rams since that trade in 2021. Barnes goes up to Andrew Whitworth after the game. Whitworth is confused because he doesn't know who he is, and Barnes explains that Whitworth had spent time with Barnes and other kids at a Boys and Girls Club in Cincinnati when Barnes was a wee lad, and that had a profound impact on him. So nice to see that show of support from Andrew Whitworth, and I'm sure that meant a lot to Derrick Barnes. Derrick Barnes also hilariously put out a post on his Instagram story, which perfectly encapsulates how he's feeling after getting a nice payday. So good for him, good for the Lions. He's well liked in the locker room, obviously, as most of these guys are. The Lions have done a great job of building this kind of brotherhood dynamic. So you got to retain that at all costs, and I don't believe that he will be the only guy they extend. He just happens to be the first domino to fall. So let me know down in the comments below what you think of Derrick Barnes being extended. I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you expect from Barnes in the near future. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back as extensions happen or signings happen when free agency opens. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of those uploads as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.